Additions to the agenda is railroad crossing, new business skating rink approval, new business burn ban, city clerk raises, and new business winter gear.
So moved.
Got a motion? I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0. Looks like we've got a lot of citizens here. Citizen comments. We'll open this thing up. If anybody wants to talk about 2.5, 3 minutes, and we'll move on to the next person.
I do have some comments. I've got a microphone here for anybody that wants to speak. That way everyone can hear you. And I would like to start off and have a comment. I know why everybody's here. I think everyone in the building knows why everyone is here in reference to our law enforcement in the city and possibly looking at county law enforcement. And the one thing that I was concerned with was I really didn't know what was going on because there wasn't a lot of talk about it. I attended the last meeting, the sheriff came in, the sheriff went out, it was an executive session. So it kind of made me go, okay, what's going on? And maybe there wasn't enough time for you guys to express that. But I would just like to voice my support for our police department. I think they do a fine job. I think some changes could be made in other parts of the department, but I think we do need a police department in our community. And that's, I think, what a majority of people here are here for.
I might say something to that, Dakota, if you're done.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You know, it's the city council and the mayor's job to cover all options. And I think the council is just looking at that for an option. As other options are being looked at too. And if the council's got anything to add, then I'm more welcome to. Thank you.
I think that, in my opinion, for the well-being, safety, and the overall peace of mind for our community members, we need to have a police department. And I'm not going to waver on that. And that's something that I think a lot of you are here for, in support of that. Our police department does a fantastic job, and I don't want to take that away from our community. If anybody else has anything to say, now's the time to say it, please.
I would just like to ask the council to consider appointing a committee of citizens and members of the council, a group of maybe 5 or 6 that can do the investigation, can talk with sheriff's department, with county commissioners, and with others to see what options are available, rather than just having people come in and talk to the city council. Have a group of citizens do the actual investigation and look at cost of keeping, cost of doing away with, what other options there might be, so that we can have, at least from my standpoint, a good report of what direction we might need to be moving in.
I would wonder why there was even any consideration of dismissing the police department. Was it lack of personnel, or is it lack of financial? And I would certainly be in favor of the full-time police department.
Anyone else?
I think right now, at this time, it's only been discussed, but we've been down this road before, and it's not a road that I want to go back down again. I think that looking at all options is fine, but I don't think I want to go down that road. I'd like to keep it as is, where we have our police department looking out for our well-being.
You know, even with the monetary gain that we have from having the students in the school, we would lose that monetary gain for the school. Each year, the school is paid a certain amount of money from the government and from the state. So we would lose that money because our officers would have to leave and find other places to be employed. So I'm in strong opinion to keep the officers here.
My name's Scott Evelthwaite, and I've been here since 2010. Never been to a meeting, but I strictly came in support of the officers.
Anybody else?
I too am here in support of our police department, but I really wanted to start off my talk tonight to thank our mayor and Jamie for getting the city bus clean. And it's minor, folks, but the people I take on the bus through the Recreation Commission really enjoyed the bus being washed. And also thank you to if any of you are involved with the youth group at Hudson for getting it swept out. It really is appreciated. Thank you. I am in support of our police department, and I had one other question. I want to know how the city ordinances are enforced. Is there anybody that enforces them, such as, something that really bugs me are cars parked in yards and junk cars. And I just wondered. That's something else for later.
I'm in support of our police department staying in town also, not only for the safety of our family, but for the other families. But is it my understanding that Maxville at one point did away with their police department and then realized later that it was not a good decision and brought it back? And I don't know if that I'm 100% correct on that, but I think that's something to take into consideration as well of what our neighbors have tried to do and brought back.
Anyone else?
Yeah, at my farm down at Enterprise, they did away with the police department. And sheriff's department comes in there and they monitor traffic for a while. But everybody's pretty much got the routine of when they come and go. And then it's just havoc in that town now. I mean, burglary's gone up, all these high school kids. I know of 3 instances in the last month where places have been robbed because there wasn't no law enforcement. And I've seen people go flying through town 80 mile an hour after the sheriff leaves. So, I mean, it's detrimental to the town that they keep police enforcement going. So, just my idea.
Anybody else?
I know I'm just the chief's wife, so you know, my opinion is going to be towards the police department regardless. But I think a lot of y'all might not realize that if the sense of security our citizens have in this town, the fact that a lot of them have his personal cell phone number and call him when he's off duty to come help unlock a car door, which that might seem simple to y'all, but if that's left up to the sheriff's office and the guy is on the other side of the county, how on earth is he going to get there within 30 minutes to do what needs to be done for the citizens? This past week alone, which it's kind of out of the norm, he's called me to pray with him before having to go to a house where 3 people had broken in the middle of the day while the homeowners are still there. Imagine if you'd have called the sheriff's office for that. What would have happened? I want to know what the beef is with the police department. Why, those of you that don't want it here, why don't you want it here? Because I know that's more than just the financial. This is the second time now in 2 years we've had to come begging for another officer or just begging for the police department, and it's getting tough, wondering whether or not my husband's going to have a job to support our family and our kids so we don't have to up and leave. I don't know how many of y'all take that into consideration. There's a lot more that goes on in this town than you realize. I also get a little, I guess, bent out of shape when I know that there's some people in this community accusing them of not working when they are working and things like that, when I've seen my husband go on call and take calls when he's technically not working, but his guys are busy doing something else. So on his day off, he's getting in his car to go do what needs to be done because he knows the community needs them. And I don't think y'all understand the quality of guys you have. You have guys that have worked here longer than any other city employees, but yet are not paid that way. Why is that? My husband's had a hit put on his head. Do any other employees do that? Nobody else has to face that. Why aren't they paid better? Why are raises so hard to come by? These are just a few of the questions that I have.
Has anybody looked at the crime rate in Stafford? They've got 4 officers over there. Compare that crime rate to our crime rate here in St. John. I don't think there's any comparison.
Anybody else, please raise your hand.
I'm Clarence Messick. Most everybody knows me. I moved here from another small town, Claflin, up the same side of St. John. I mean, we play them in sports. There was never, ever a question of the police department being there. They were just always there. I came with a small business, bought another small business while we were here, had the laundromat. The doors were open 24/7. I can't imagine. We had problems the way it was, but people trying to get into the coin boxes and whatnot, and I can't imagine how much more trouble we'd have had and vandalism in there if there wouldn't have been somebody driving around at some point in time. And my well service was on the edge of town. I know there's other businesses here out on the edge of town. I can't imagine what will happen to them. I mean, my opinion, I think they'll be easy picking for somebody who really wants. That's all I got.
Anybody else? If this is the time to speak, if you have something to speak about, just to let you know.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name's Rodney Chrisman, and I've lived here most of my life. I think about 4 years I was gone. During the years that I've been in St. John, I was an ornery little guy, and I used to get by with a lot of stuff, racing through town, but it seems like the police always found me, no matter where I was at, and I deserved everything I got. You know, there wasn't anything that I didn't deserve, and they told me the way it was going to be and the way it was. We went down our road. I appreciated them. At that time, I didn't. I thought they was picking on me, but you know, I get older. We all get older. We all have things change. I'm for the police department. One time we only had 3 policemen. One come on at 7, went off at 4. One come on at 4 and went off at midnight. And then we had a guy that couldn't even write his own name or read and he was on afterwards. He just cruised around. I think he probably could read and write some things. At that time, we had 24 or 2,500 people in St. John. Didn't have near the vandalism or near the crime rate, and I don't know what it is now. I don't know what changed or went up, went down. Really doesn't matter, but they did a good job back then. It's just fallen down. We've got young officers. They know what to do. And you take one of these officers and take them to a domestic disturbance in somebody's house, they don't know whether they're going to walk out of there with one leg, two legs, no eyes, or blown out the front door. I'm all for him. I talk to him regularly. You can ask the chief. He stops by whenever I wave real hard. He'll stop and talk to me. I think they do an excellent job. I'd like to see them write more tickets. People who don't stop at stop signs. But, you know, that's just me. I know most of everybody here on the council. And I know you're all fair and understanding people. And I hope you take that into effect. I don't know what the price is or what they pay the salaries or anything like that, but I sure would hate to have them be not here and have the sheriff's department. And I'm presuming that the sheriff's department would put more people on, you know, and have somebody here at least during the day or part of the night. But if you have a wreck down south, some of them are going to go down there. You have a wreck up north, some of them are going to go there. This intersection of 281 and 50 is a joke, and they're going to get it fixed, I hope. So then if you do this, if you take our police department away, next year you're going to take the fire department away too? Then somebody's house catches on fire. Maybe we'll have the rural department, and they do a good job. Nobody's on the city department, then your house burns down. Where's it going to stop? I know we're losing people in the town now, but I mean, we have to put our foot down someplace. And if it costs doing more or getting more taxes or something like that, hey, we got to do it. You don't want the kids, or do you want older folks suffer? You don't want anybody to suffer just because, oh well, we'll let somebody else take care of that job. Thank you.
Anybody else? Hold it right up here, please.
Well, I just really feel if we don't do something about this now, all of our police department will walk out on us, and we won't have anybody.
You know, I grew up in this town, and one of the things is, I guess, I'd like to go back to what the gentleman down here said. I'd like to know why all of a sudden we're looking at options. Because, I mean, Mark, I understand you tried to answer back and said that you're just looking at options, but what brought it to the council to make you start looking at options? You know, one of the things that we pride our city in is when we talk to people to try to bring them into the community, how are we going to bring them into the community when we say, it's okay, you can come in. We don't know if your family's going to be safe, but it's all right if you come. Because I can tell you right now, if I'm talking to somebody trying to get them to come to the community, one of the things we talk about is how we're all a family together and how this community comes together and takes care of others. To me, you pull the police department out and you set everybody up. Think about all the things that are going on just in Kansas alone, where you have kids that are taken all the time. People need to feel safe in the towns they're in. Just like he said, if we have to change our taxes or whatever we have to do, that's important to us. It's important to keep our families safe. You know, I want to point out to you, you have a bunch of high school kids sitting in here. They need to know where you're coming from because this is their future. You make a change now, it affects their future. So they need to understand from the council, when we're asked these questions, we're not asking them just to give you an opinion, we're asking them because we want to know the answers. And once again, Mark, I appreciate you trying to answer, but it didn't answer. Technically, what it says is you're looking at options, but you guys didn't tell us how you got there. That's what they need to know.
Who else? Hold it right up here.
My name's Wendy Welch, and I know I'm going to get emotional because I'm part of this Blue family. And I am so proud of Charlie and Aaron and Adam and Chris Story when he's here, but I couldn't be more blessed than to know some of the most wonderful young men on a police department. These guys put forth an effort every day to keep everybody safe. I personally know these guys. And thank God we have the young men that we do on this department because they really care about every one of you, and they will do their best to support you and to give you guidance even if you don't need it or you may. But they will stand beside you. They will have your back more than any young men that I have ever met. And I am blessed to say that I know each and every one of them, and I'm so proud of them. And you all should be very proud of them too. We are very lucky that these guys have stuck by us because through thick and thin, they've been here for us, and you all should feel blessed.
Anybody else? In reference to the police department?
I think part of it, Sandy, was there's a possibility of two of the officers leaving, and I think we were looking into it because if we couldn't hire two others to fill those spots, then that's why we were looking into the sheriff's department. I think. I mean, that's my understanding. And we have had Adam put in. Okay.
The other part of it. And why are they leaving? I know Story is going to another job.
That's
Better
something
pay?
you may just have to ask them.
Better pay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to answer for them.
The other thing, the county attorney, and we're not 100% clear on this, but the county attorney has told the city that he is no longer going to prosecute misdemeanor cases for the city or anything. That also incurs another expense on the city that we aren't capable of taking right now. I mean, it could cost the city 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, I don't know. It could cost $100,000 extra if the county attorney doesn't prosecute anything, with us having to hold people in jail, supply them with an attorney if they're arrested, transferring. That's also part of it as well.
So what gives him the right to do that? Is the county letting him do that?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Question for the lawyer.
And I believe I had asked Jamie to have the county attorney attend our next meeting. I think he can't make it until the first meeting in November. So we can get an exact idea of what he's not going to do.
And my question is, how can he do that?
He has a choice. I'm hoping he answers it. I've asked the commissioners the same thing.
Okay.
So,
I think we need to reach out to those.
I mean, I think those are some of the situations that are leading up to us exploring other options.
See, this helps. If you get out the news, then we know. Instead of saying, oh, they're closing our police department.
And we've discussed,
We'll be wise also.
and we've discussed this, I think, at the last 3 meetings with the county attorney, not prosecuting misdemeanor cases. So, I mean, we have discussed it. You know, we're trying to find the answer right now.
Does that mean we need to go to the county commissioner meetings?
Well, like I said, that's why we have asked him to come to our next council meeting. He can't make it until November, I think it's the 7th, I believe. He's supposed to. Huh?
City attorney to get the county attorney to do county stuff? Or have a city
we have a city attorney, but we're not capable of handling everything right at this time, and it would cost more money, which could lead to higher taxes or higher utilities or whatever to cover them expenses.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There are also budgetary concerns. If you look at our budgets, we fairly well depleted our long-term budget for equipment and maintenance repair. 90% of our budget comes from utilities, 10% from ad valorem tax. So if we have to come up with more money, it will be most likely utilities, because we're limited to what we can raise on ad valorem taxes. Long-term budgetary concerns. We've got declining population base. We've got fewer people buying electricity. Dillon's Post took a big chunk out of the electric bill. In my opinion, most of it's budgetary, and the fact that Webb County Attorney is not going to prosecute misdemeanors, that means they're either given diversions or not prosecuted. And I don't think he's doing the same at Stafford. I've talked to the Stafford attorney, tells me the same thing. There's some major issues, and you can't force him to do it.
And this is a gentleman that we voted in because there was no other choice.
He was elected by popular consent, yes.
But there was no other choice, if I remember correctly.
Well, it'd be pretty hard to get a Democrat elected in Stafford County.
Well, if you do his job, he might. Okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the issue of the police department? Also, I'd like to remind you, when you're speaking into the microphone, you need to get it right up there. People can't hear.
So why is the police department the first one that you want to cut? Why aren't the county taking over parks and roads? That would save money too, wouldn't it?
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the issue of the police department? Raise your hand, please. Okay.
You know, Jim, you just said that the money comes from utilities and taxes and all that to pay these guys. Well, when you eliminate 4 people, I know it's a two-sided sword. You have to decide which side is the sharpest. You're going to eliminate 4 salaries, but you're going to eliminate 4 citizens paying taxes and utilities and the home and all that also.
Is there anyone that would like to speak to this issue? David?
You know, I also work for the city. Adam, I've seen him do, watch the school as soon as 3:30 comes. Charlie, Charlie has also lived with me months at a time. He is my brother. I have kids. It's nice that, when they walk, there's somebody there, to make sure nobody's speeding, things like that, stopping at stop signs. So I do support the police department.
Anybody else on this issue?
I'm fairly new in this community, been here about 8 years, but it has done me a world of good to see the police cars drive by our house every single day, maybe even a couple or 3 times a day. Just knowing they're out patrolling our streets, keeping us safe, And I think we need them simply because everybody in this community needs protection. This world is not what it used to be when I grew up and played out on the streets. My folks sometimes didn't even know where I was at during the daytime. But I was free to roam. Kids are not free to roam anymore. They need protection, and I agree with whoever spoke for our kids earlier that they need this for their future. This community needs the police department for the future of this community, because if we don't have the protection, there'll be some that will move out of the community and find a place that does. So.
Okay, one of the comments that was made was, we're having a hard time finding a police officer. I happen to be a boss as well. If I'm down an 8 at work, I don't shut Kenwood down. I just keep looking and keep trying to find more. So that's the same thing. I have to go in at night and work sometimes. Sorry, Adam, you're a boss. You'll have to do that. If it's early in the morning and they need help, guess what? I'm there. And I think several of you guys have been in and out and have actually seen me work on the floor and do that kind of stuff. That's why Adam's the chief. He's the boss. So Adam might have to pull some more hours. Sorry again. But I would rather him do that than to cut the department. I think that that's kind of crazy to say that. And then also you guys had mentioned that Dillon's was a huge part of our income coming in, and they're now gone. Well, if I'm understanding things correctly, it sounds pretty positive that we're going to be getting another grocery store in. And from what I'm understanding, hopefully within the next 6 to 8 months, possibly. So that's going to be bringing more people back into the community. So therefore, your electric bill is going to raise because they're on the right side of the highway. So city's going to get that tax. And city is also going to get the electric bill. So that's going to help, that's going to raise it. The other thing, when Dillon's closed, where was the first thing that it was advertised at? All over the newspapers. We're talking Hutch, we're talking Great Bend, we're talking Pratt. Drive 20 miles, 25 miles to Great Bend and look and see what the crime rate is. Do you think it gets out that we do not have a police force 25 miles away, and those crazies that want to create problems, create havoc, want to break into houses, steal? You don't think they're going to drive 25 miles to do that, knowing we don't have a police department here? Let's think long term. We've all had kids. We all want to be safe. The first place we call when we do have a problem, whether we're a business owner or whether we are just somebody at home, is the police office usually. We want the police people to come and help us. So that is something that we do not want to take away. Just some things to think about. Thank you.
I'd like to say that when my cousins come to town, my aunt doesn't even let them walk to the park with me because she lives in a community with no police around. She lives in a community with no police, and I live in a community with a lot, and my mom lets me roam and do as I wish, and my cousins do not have that freedom.
Anybody else that hasn't had a chance already to speak?
I just want to say that I appreciate our police department coming and helping us in my full-time job. They keep us safe. They're there to help with lifting patients. And if that's your loved one that's involved in a domestic or a traffic accident or gunshot, we're not even allowed to go into that scene until police have secured it. And if we're waiting for somebody from the sheriff's department that might be on the other side of the county, that's your loved one that could be dying. So I really appreciate what they do for us here, and I just wanted to say that.
Cassie Blakesley. I'm also a dispatcher for Stafford County Sheriff's Office. I have lived in Stafford County for the majority of my life, which is 46 years. It scares me to think that we wouldn't have a police department, and I understand you guys have to explore every avenue there is, because I was a single mom once. I had to explore every avenue to feed my kids and pay my bills. But from a work standpoint, I can call these guys anytime, day or night. I know they've just went home in the middle of the night or during the day, and they're there. I've talked to the majority of you that are up there on the council on 911, or you've called in and needed something. We send them to respond, no matter whether it's police, fire, or ambulance. And we've got a good team. I hate to see us put a hiccup in the team or expect another agency to take on and add to, because it may not be an option, but I just do support the police department. Thank you.
Anybody that hasn't had a chance already to speak about this issue? Raise your hand if you haven't had a chance to speak about this issue.
I just happened to think about something. How many times does our city officers respond with the county guys to go outside the city to help the county guys? So you're expecting the county guys to take care of this when our officers help them.
And I would like to add, since everybody's taken a couple of turns, that's what we're here for, is to express our opinions and our thoughts. I don't think this is a type of a session where we're trying to dog our city police department or our county law enforcement, because I think they all do a great job. And I appreciate everyone on our police department being here tonight to hear what the community has to say. I appreciate the city council for taking the time to explore those avenues, but I hope that this right here can help you when you're trying to make your decisions. Because the thing is, a lot of people don't usually show up. And this room right here is a pretty big deal for our community normally when there's only 5 or 10 people that show up. So this is pretty big for us. Another thing that I would like to add, completely aside from this, since it's citizens' comments, we had the first annual Community Day this past weekend. The weather wasn't very fair to us, but we had a lot of people that came out and celebrated. I was a part of that, volunteering. There were a lot of volunteers in the community that helped. There were a lot of people who came and spent some money to help the Jubilee Fund, which is my #1 favorite thing to do. Everybody knows that. But good job to the city workers that helped, the law enforcement that showed up. I think every member of our police department was at that event, whether it was private or on duty. And city crew was there to help us with some issues with the movie screen blowing away, especially David Heller. Jamie did a phenomenal job, and I think that's a positive thing for our community. And I don't know if we would be able to have the sheriff's department come and watch over us when we're trying to have an event like that. So that's just another thing that kind of ties to it. Anybody else have a comment?
I also want to thank the City Council for listening to what's being said. And I would just remind you about my proposal to begin with about a committee. That might be helpful. I also want to thank Jamie and the city for this past weekend. I said to her as we were out there working and doing things, and I said to her, next one we need to look at is Easter. And she said, no, I've got something she's trying to come up with something for Christmas. So if any of you have any ideas and you want to help, you can see Jamie or see me or somebody else, and Mark, and we'll be willing to work with you and come up with ideas. I just also want to say to the City Council, under the new business, there is an item of meals for Circles. I have been involved with Circles since the beginning of the talk 2 or 3 years ago. I have information on it. If you need input when you get to that item, I will be glad to address it if you need me to at that time.
Anybody else have a comment?
I'm Brenda Hine. I also say the county does a good job with the sheriff's department, but we really do need our police department. Our police department, I've raised 2 little children, and they're very supportive to these children. These children look at these officers as someone to look for their lives later in, to be an officer, to do things right with law. The sheriff's department does not spend the time with these children like these law officers do. I have one very ornery little guy who jumps curves, does things wrong. They explain to him why they can't do it, still does it bad, but he's going to be a police officer. Because Adam and all of them are so good in making improvements with these children. If we have the sheriff's department, they're not going to be there for the children. They're in the county doing very important jobs. We have things being stolen in the county, things being taken. The city can't be out there having them here when they're supposed to be out there. We need them both in both places. Very important to have both of them right now with the way the times are. So I support both our police department and our sheriff's department. But we need our police departments to remain.
Anybody else have a comment? Raise your hand so I can see you if you have a comment. Okay. Where? I can't see. I'm sorry. I'm blind. I'm sorry. I'm looking all over the place.
Question, why does the county attorney not do his job? Does anybody question that or ask the commissioners?
I've asked. That's why he's going to be attending our meeting to answer them questions.
I didn't hear you.
I've asked him, I've asked the county commissioners, and that's why he's going to attend our next council meeting.
Okay, he's finally going to attend one. Have you asked before?
No, this is the first time we've got with him. That'll be the soonest he's available.
Well, why didn't you ask before when all this came up?
We've asked, we've been trying to work with him.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Put your hand high in the air, please. I'm going to keep doing this until you tell me otherwise.
I was just wondering why we didn't hear what he said. I hope it got recorded because it sounded very important, but we should have had a mic to him.
Guys, if you can pull the mic in front of you and get it right up to your chin, that's the only way it's going to work. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the type of equipment that you have there. Anybody else that would like to speak to this issue or any other citizen comment? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to talk. I'm Loopy Hudson, and I've been here all my life, and I am definitely in support of the police department. I grew up with a big family. We walked to school, we'd walk home, we'd ride our bikes. I mean, we were just pretty free to do what we wanted, I mean, with supervision, but things have changed now. You can't really do that. And now having grandkids, and you want them safe, and I care for my grandkids at night at their house, and I rest really well at night knowing that somebody is out there drive by. So to take them away, I would probably be a freaky grandma. So I definitely support the police department.
Anybody else with a comment? Raise your hand. Ask a question? Okay.
Do you think a group like this should come and hear what our county attorney has to say?
Yes.
So maybe you should arrange to have this meeting in a venue like this before we all bottom out over there.
Absolutely. I think
I'll
that
be there. I
I
don't
think
know
that
if others
if we have him come, community needs to show up. They need to voice their opinion to him. They need to let him know how we feel about these things. It's not just us up here, it's you. We are here for you. You elected us to be your voice. Many of you I've gone out and I have talked with, and I've gotten your opinions, whether you are for or against any particular issue, and I listen to you. I don't always agree with you, but I do listen. And some of you have changed my mind on certain issues. But I think this issue right here that we're talking about right now, that everyone's here for, is important, and we need to listen to what you have to say. And I think that when we have the county attorney come in here, I think you need to be here too. We need to see more participation from our community with this. This is the only way we are going to know where you stand on certain issues. We need you to participate. That's what this is all about.
Could I invite you to invite the sheriff at the same time next month? Just so that he's here and hears.
I actually believe he's going to attend as well.
One quick thing from me, there will be a candidates forum next Tuesday night at the county annex the economic development is putting on, and I was going to address you guys in case you didn't know about that, and I would welcome you guys to attend that, the community, the council, whoever, if you can. It will be at 7 o'clock on next Tuesday at the county annex, and I'd like to express thanks to economic development for putting that on for our community. Anybody else? Once, twice.
Open citizen comment, bring the comment of the council. Comment from the council. No. We'll move on then, consent agenda, approve the minutes, regular council meeting. October 3rd, 2017, appropriation ordinance 10/17/2017, $22,277.93. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0. Department heads, grant administration, Lisa Cornwell, I don't think she's here. Police, Adam Saylor, report.
The only thing I have at this time. The only thing I have at this time is 2 meetings back, we started discussing pay plan, I guess not only for the police department, but also citywide. Everybody received a copy of that, so I wanted to bring that back to council and see what your thoughts were in regards to the pay for the police department.
Council had a chance to look that over.
I don't have a copy.
The entire packet that had the.
copy to the council? One you've done yourself?
The pay plan, you and Lagana, you guys and Lagana did, I had nothing to do with that. That was accepted back in, was it April?
Yep, should be Tiger gun.
I don't remember, Mark, honestly.
Mr. Mayor, without a written copy, I don't wish to move on with the session or anything like that. I can barely hear you down here because I'm a deaf guy anyway. So without a written copy, I don't wish to proceed on anything on pay raises. The reason I'm asking this time is the 2 meetings back, everybody received the copy and said they were going to take it home and review it, and I was to come back to you guys and it would be discussed. So that's why I'm doing that now.
Chief, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought we were supposed to be getting a revised copy with proposed changes to it,
From,
not for the pay plan. Okay, then.
no, because we had discussion on whether or not the pay plan was actually ever passed. And Jamie went back in the minutes and saw where it was passed. And then everybody was given a copy of the classification and all the pay plans. And then I was supposed to bring back discussion as far as the officers' pay within each pay grade. Patrol officers have a pay grade, the sergeant has a pay grade, the chief has a pay grade, as well as the other delineations within the ranks of the city as a whole.
Okay.
Adam, could you get that together and bring it to the next council meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Adam.
Anything else, Adam?
Until my executive session at the end, that's all I've got.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Until my executive session at the end, that's all I've got.
Fire Chief, Mike. City Clerk, Jamie.
Okay. So, the Capers 1%. Oh, there you are. We got a thing from Capers just telling us that it increased 1% for the death and disability contributions. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that, since that's something we have been talking about, is the pay and the benefits.
Jamie, what is the percentage that the city pays on Capers on salary?
Is it going to be 7% now with that 1% increase? Oh, because it was 8. Okay, yeah. 946.
946.
Percent.
So we pay $9.46 on every $100 that we pay in salary.
Yep.
Is that how much comes out of the city and employees? That's what the city pays. What does the employee pay?
Six.
Does he match it?
No, the city,
The employee pays 6? Yeah. Okay.
I had that backwards.
So 15.5% goes to a caper out of the salary.
Correct.
We pay 6 and they pay, we pay 9.46 and they pay 6.
Yep. Evaluations, I just wanted to bring to light, I don't think they've been carried through very well. So a question I have for you guys moving forward, which will be addressed when I go through the personnel, whatever it is. If they're not done on time, I believe, Pam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if, evaluation, like my 6-month evaluation is due next Tuesday. So if that's not done by next Tuesday, do I backdate that? I believe that's how it's been done in the past. Correct.
I think it's retroactive.
Okay. So what do we have in place to make sure that these evaluations are being done on time? Anything? No, they are not. We have a new system, Jeff and I do, but we're still working through that. So. But, I mean, to me, allowing the backdate is providing a way to not have to have them done on time. You know, like I know things come up, and it's not always going to be done.
Are we talking about employee performance evaluation?
Correct.
That needs to be done by the department heads.
Correct. But you make the rules, Jim.
So you're giving somebody a back door because they're just going to backdate the,
Yes,
so we're not getting their job done.
correct.
And the mayor does the department head.
You do the department heads.
So,
So therefore, if the department head is not getting their evaluations in on time, you need to write down the department head. Correct?
Consensus of council, huh? Jeff and I have already done that, but it's still, we're just trying to get it moving forward is my problem. And I don't know how it was done in the past, so I just wanted confirmation with you guys before I go to them and say, this is how it's going to be done, so. Right, back pay, yeah, I misspoke. Yes. No.
You can make it retroactive.
Correct.
Anything else, Jamie?
I'm taking over Jeff.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Oh, and the raises, I didn't bring over those papers, but the council did, I believe I talked to Marshall, council gives department heads the 3% window to give raises when they do their employee evaluations. And some of the evaluations that have been done here recently, Pam's, Aaron's, Chris Smith, Dale, a lot of them have got their evaluations done here in the last couple months. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention that those happened. If you want to know the raise amount, you can get with me and I'll get that to you. And then for Jeff, he had a few invoices that need approved. One's for the Stafford County Highway Department to seal First Street in the amount of $8,957. And then Protective Equipment Testing Lab, he has on here annual testing rubber goods. So that's all. Okay, so that's all I know about that. That one is $2,272.25. So I just need a motion to be able to pay those.
We'll make a motion to approve this purchase of the ceiling of the protective testing.
We got a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0. Anything else?
You get me for all the old business too.
Yeah, I know. We'll get there. City Attorney Jones.
The council received what is probably my best guesstimate. If the county attorney is going to stick with his advertised plan to cease prosecuting misdemeanor cases, what I think it's going to do to the municipal court budget with some caveats. And Adam and I talked about this briefly at the beginning of the meeting, but if you look under jail time, I have budgeted 300 days. I don't know what a court will do for a DUI conviction because the maximum sentence allowed under a DUI conviction is 365 days. Pratt used to have a judge that would make somebody sit for 30 days for each offense. The city would be able to prosecute in some circumstances up to 3 DUIs per an individual. That's 90 days. If somebody draws a 365-day sentence, that's going to blow that budget out of the water. There's also mandatory sentences for things like driving on a suspended license, depending on the number of times you drive on a suspended license. And it's been so long since I've done that type of criminal law, defense law, that off the top of my head I can't really think of anything else, but I budgeted 300 days a year. And I also budgeted indigent defense. You're required to appoint an attorney for somebody who can't afford an attorney if the judge reasonably believes that person could receive a jail sentence. Not that they would, but if she believes it could, which is going to be just about every criminal case. And you're going to have about 75% of your people charged who are going to qualify for indigent defense. That can be done one of two ways. You can do a contract with a defense attorney. You can do it by the hour. A problem with doing a contract is you're going to have to do a contract, and you're probably going to have somebody on standby and pay them on an hourly rate, because you're going to have conflicts at some point with your contract defense attorney. There are ways to recoup some of those costs through fees and fines, but candidly, if you have somebody who can't afford to hire an attorney for their defense, it's going to be very difficult to collect fees and fines against them, and usually those end up getting sent to collection agencies that get paid based on those collections, but then they get a charge, a certain type of surcharge on those collections. But it's long, it's difficult, takes years, and a lot of times they disappear before any of that collection work happens. Currently, you pay your municipal court judge $300 for one court appearance one court appearance a month. I'm thinking you're probably going to have 4 court appearances a month. You don't want somebody arrested and then sitting in jail, because that's costing you money. You want them to be able to make their first appearance. I don't know what she's going to want, or whether or what a new municipal court judge is going to want as far as pay, but I've got that built in. But some of the things that I just can't account for until we get started on this, and I'll say I have not noticed an increase in things since he first let us know, like end of August. But I don't know what kind of additional equipment the city's going to need. As an example, if it wants to prosecute DUIs, it needs an Intoxilizer 2000, which is the equipment that would be required to run breath tests. There'll be fees for KBI lab fees. Okay, certain types of all drug cases and certain other types of cases would require the KBI to run labs on the contraband, which can run $300 or $400 a pop. I don't know. I'm assuming if people are housed in Great Bend or housed in Pratt, somebody's going to have to go get those defendants and bring them to court. So you've got added expenses for law enforcement. If you end up going down to 2 officers and you're talking about 1 officer in the city while somebody else goes and retrieves a defendant, and if the judge doesn't allow them to bail out at the first appearance, then they're going to have to go back to jail. I could probably earn the city about $5,000 running a diversion program, but again, you kind of run into that catch-22. If the defendant can't afford certain things, they're not going to be able to afford the fees and the fines associated with the diversion program. So I put my best guesstimate on that. I don't know if I'm low. I don't know if I'm high. I'm guessing I'm low. The other thing is, there are certain ordinances you guys would have to pass. And my suggestion on this, after seeing Adam's list, is probably to pass them as we go. The city can't prosecute misdemeanor marijuana. The city can't prosecute certain things right now that would be left up to the state or the district for it to be handled in the district court. And one of the other ways to handle this is just to repeal all your ordinances. And that would leave all the criminal prosecution to the county attorney. And then all of a sudden, if he doesn't want to prosecute criminal activity in the St. John, it's going to fall completely on his shoulders. You could pick and choose and repeal those ordinances that are more expensive to prosecute, those that would require KBI lab fees, and keep the ones that would financially benefit the city. But my other thought to all this is either you do it all or you don't do any of it, because I don't think it's fair that the county attorney selects, for example, to prosecute DUI cases, which have mandatory fines from $1,000 to $1,500, sometimes up to $2,500, but then leaves us with those cases in which there's no ability to collect any kind of revenue to support your municipal court. And then my final thought on all this is I don't know where you're going to conduct municipal court. It's hard to do it where it's at now. It's a distraction to your staff, because staff kind of has to stop what they're doing. We do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when things start to wind down, but if you're talking about doing it 4 days plus a trial here and there, you're going to have to sequester witnesses outside. I just don't know where you're going to have. You're talking about, in some cases, maybe having an officer that needs to be present. I just don't know how you do it.
Therefore, your $40,000 to $50,000 estimate could easily turn into $80,000 to $100,000 extra cost to the city.
Well, you need to do all of it because you need to get efficient doing it, and I would need to get Jamie trained to do it and figure out where the efficiencies are. So it's going to be more expensive at the beginning. I have a secretary that used to do it in Greensburg, has not done it in 6 to 8 months, but she can become more efficient on doing it. But candidly, because none of these cases have been filed at the municipal court, I don't know what the problems are with the city. I don't know what the criminal problems are. I don't know, in Pratt we had a huge drug problem. It's kind of cleaned up. I don't know if that's the case here. I don't know if you only have one highway versus the 3 we have in Pratt, so it's a little bit different as to the traffic side. But you can establish efficiencies. If I can figure out kind of the patterns, I can do certain type of offenses on one day. Judge Walters is pretty easy to work with. She's going to want more than $300 a month to make 4 court offenses.
She's already raised her hand that if she gets more stuff dumped on her, she's going to want a little broader job description and more pay. So it's a lot easier to do things in a city of 5,000 or 6,000 or 8,000 like Pratt is than it is in a Podunk, America, where you got 1,000
There's
people.
You lose the efficiencies in doing kind of the numbers efficiencies right now.
Economies of scale.
Right. One of my other thoughts on this is I have not been appearing for first appearances. The judge handles all that. I would just sit there quietly anyways, unless she asks for my recommendation. I would probably defer to her on all those first appearances and not attend and continue that pattern. I've not been needed in the past, and I really don't think I'm needed now.
How many kilowatts of electricity extra would we have to sell to come up with 100,000, Jamie?
Ask your city superintendent.
Anything else,
Million
John?
kilowatts of extra electricity.
He's kind of short with me on the phone.
I believe it's 1 million kilowatts, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll see.
And we sold how many last year? So you can just add it to the utility tax.
Yep. Better just add $1,000 a year to everybody's property tax.
Mm-hmm. Well, 90% of your budget comes from utilities, so you're going to have to raise property a lot more. So,
And, in Greensburg, and I hate, it's not really an admission here, but the speed limit drops from 65 to 45 to 30. And not because we were looking for, but people did get caught speeding, and that supported the municipal court. You just don't have those types of revenue generating, and that's probably good, because you don't want to tax your citizens, so to speak, in that manner. But you just don't have that type of revenue generating situation here that could support a municipal court.
Any comments or discussion from council, other than what's been made? Moving on to old business. Railroad crossing. Jamie, is that you?
So last meeting, I found this little guy that we didn't do or whatever. John looked it over and said that everything is good. So I just need a motion to pass it and get it signed and sent back to the state.
The city's only obligation is the signage.
Is the signage on, it's Prairie
Prairie
Street?
Street.
Do we have the railroad crossing signs already there, don't we?
Advanced warning
So
sign.
we already are, it's already taken care of. We just need to get it signed and sent off. This is the railroad.
Somebody make a motion? Got a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Item. Okay, HR update. I believe that's you too, Jamie.
Yes. Well, it's really you guys. You wanted it tabled so you could look at it. What did you decide?
You guys look at that. What's your thoughts on it?
Do we have any idea how much they are actually needed on the team? I mean, I know they gave us that.
The recommendations. I personally would enjoy having her look at the pay plan and the that one document, the personnel, the handbook. Just because she's the expert in it, I'm not.
Really, what she really needs to do is just compile everything into a more sophisticated handbook. That's the number one thing. The policy stuff, a lot of your policy stuff is going to be in the ordinance, your code of ethics and that type of thing. But right now, it's almost two separate documents. You can't look in one and know that the other exists. They need to be cross-referenced.
Was that $100 an hour they were going to charge something like?
It was 1 or 120. I would have to look. I think it was 120.
Plus mileage. He's coming from
Hutch. Mm-hmm.
And what that was 40. What was that a mile?
I think it's charged at the government rate, which is
Is she
52.
charging time plus mileage? Is she trying?
No, the time.
She
From my
doesn't charge
understanding, the
time
time
when she
doesn't start
leaves?
until she's here.
She just charges mileage to get here, and her time
Correct.
begins when she gets here.
That's my understanding, but I will confirm that.
Okay, because sometimes you pay time and mileage.
Right.
It's not an unreasonable fee for somebody that if they're an expert can help us consolidate our.
And that would help going forward, because then we could have that there, and then if something was made as an ordinance or something was changed in council meeting, it's going to be easier to reference, and I can just go change it. Whereas now it's all over the place.
Did she have any idea on how much time it would take to do
I think that was our bigger project that we were looking at, but she never gave me a time frame for any of it. But she is very willing to work around whatever we need. If you guys only accept however many hours, I think she would be willing to give me those hours that you guys do accept.
It could get expensive quick. But not having a policy has also gotten expensive pretty quick. Because I think we've made some, when you look at the total pay package of city employees, health insurance being a huge one, and I think you probably got a 25% increase in health insurance costs last year, and with what's happening nationally with health insurance, I think you can look at another 25 to 50% increase in health insurance costs. And then you look capers. So if you look at the entire pay package, it could get expensive real quick. My wife works for a Pawnee Valley Hospital, Larned, which is a county hospital. They do not pay the entire health insurance cost for their employees. They pay a percentage. They don't cover their deductible. The deductible's on the employees, and this is a healthcare company. I've had my health insurance paid one time by my employer, and that was the military. So if you look at what we pay totally in our pay packages, I think we truly need somebody to come through here and evaluate what we're doing and get things within line, what private industry is paying, and I think we're way out of line on a lot of our pay packages. And I'm a taxpayer, and all of you are.
Any more discussion?
I think Jamie should go for it.
We have to figure out what we want done. I mean, because there were several. Yeah.
The council could make a motion limiting initial expenditure to 15 hours or something of that nature, and then Jamie could come back and let everybody know where we're at.
Limit what we spend, Marshall? Why don't we come up, Jamie, would you be willing to work with some sort of limit on what we're spending?
Well, yeah.
Do you have an idea? You want to come up with an idea what you think we could have to spend?
I mean, I don't know that much.
You think 10 hours would do it?
I would hope we don't have to spend 10 hours on it.
You would hope
honestly.
we don't have to spend 10 hours.
But
I would
we could start with 10.
I would move that we give you authorization
More
up to
than
10
10?
hours. You would do more than 10?
15. I wouldn't mind going 2,500 or 3,000 just to get it started and look into it.
If we can get
We'd have a lot more to work with.
If we can get everything straightened out within the office, then we can get that squared away. So I think.
So I can just have a limit and then I can get done everything I want to get done?
It'd probably come out of your salary.
Okay.
I mean, 20 hours,
Get
120.
rid of my headache.
200 plus, I don't know if that's 2 or 3 trips. I mean, I would think $3,000 to start off with would be a good start.
Okay.
I would thoroughly agree with you.
Yes. Yes.
And I'd make a motion to spend up to 3,000.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 5 no.
Okay, the roofs. I have the bids from Ray Roofing. I called. They said that their bids are still available for us. They are actually going to be coming in the next week or two, I believe, and doing the banks. So he said if we accept them to let him know, and he'll try to get it done here directly. We also got a bid from Mainstream Roofing out of Pratt. oh boy. He came in actually today and kind of talked with me about what needs done. I'll pass these around to make sure that they're comparable, but it looks like his is going to be quite a bit cheaper, the mainstream. You have that? That's on all of the flat roofs. And then I spoke with him. He asked if it was taxable or not, and I'm assuming, I told him I didn't think it was, but the Ray Roofing does have the price plus tax, so I told him just to put a note on it until I knew for sure.
97.
Yeah, mainstream's coming in at 97, and the Ray Roofing's at 110 something.
10, 9, 111.
Ray Roofing? Yeah, I gave him a list today, and he went around and looked at them all and came back.
Jamie, and you do have the insurance money found?
Yes.
All of it?
All of it.
All of it.
And we have, I forgot how many dollars we have yet to.
We had enough to do it over, do everything.
You're not running for every election, you don't get the
I don't remember.
They were gonna pay everything to cover Ray Roof.
That's what's
And
left
Ray
from
Roof.
the insurance.
What's that?
That's what's left to be paid to us from the insurance.
Right, once the work is completed, then the insurance company will pay the remainder, enough to remainder amount, I believe, so.
Mhm.
It's 140 total.
Didn't know mainstream was a flat roof built roofing company. So apples are not, they're not the same. Mm-hmm. And Ray has been in the roofing business for 1,000 years. He just did the bag.
Well, that's what I was trying to do today.
But we don't know what their current bid is.
This bit's good.
It's still good? Oh, okay.
I think looking at them, I think they're actually gonna do more, Ray Roofing's gonna do more than mainstream. Because it looks like Ray's gonna put more, they're gonna put another fiberglass insulator down before they do the torch down. And some other stuff that mainstream's not gonna do. I'd rather, I don't know, if there's just 110,000 that's left to be paid, I just think this would be better with the Ray Roofing.
No, like I think they're gonna be here like maybe this week. They're doing the bank, so he said like the next week or two. So and that might be
Marshall, are you putting that in the form of a motion?
I'd make a motion to accept Ray's roofing bid for the flat roof.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second on the table to take Ray's roofing estimate,
What was that bid?
$110,939. Motion and second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Yes. Did you vote, Ron? I voted 5-0.
so we don't need KDOT. We already did that.
We did that, okay. Code enforcer, is that?
That's just me reminding you guys that we need a new code enforcer. Adam and I actually did speak a little bit on that. We would be willing to negotiate, him and I maybe working as a team and taking care of that, if you guys would want to entertain the negotiation.
The only thing, when it comes to the junk cars, you guys know the problems as much as I do. And it's hard to enforce that with the situation we've got.
How many cars can you hold, Scott? 20 or 30?
How fast can you get rid of them? No, I mean like to where you have more room.
Hold them for what, 30 days?
Yeah. I think it's 30.
Actually, the law reads 15 days. If I have nothing from the registered owner, I can dispose of them at my discretion.
So how fast can you dispose of them?
The difficulty is finding the registered owner. Because then you're waiting on the state.
Don't forget the $400 it takes to get there. Right, John?
Well, I mean, you almost, my suggestion for something like that is just to budget some money and see how many we can do within that.
I can do them out as fast as we can do them.
What are required for impounding cars? I mean, if you're impounding cars, what facilities are required to impound a car?
You have to have them under lock and key. If we pay him to go get them, they're in our possession.
And you have to do the legal work to see whether there's liens on them and who owns them and.
You gotta pass a resolution, tell them to do it. They don't do it, then you can.
So does the city not have any property that's under lock and key? No.
I think it was
You have
discussed.
to have cameras on it, is that not correct, I think?
There's a whole lot.
Whole lot of stuff that's gotta be done these kids.
I think it was discussed, I don't know when, that, I think we kind of talked about it last meeting. There was a letter that was gonna be sent out saying, if you had this and you had a clear title, then you could bring it to the city and they would work with whoever to get rid of it. So, moving forward, I do plan on trying to get that done at some point in time, but
And
it's on my list.
it's gonna be my suggestion that you're just gonna waste your time on that, because if they had title, then they would have tried to do something with it.
I'd still say try it. That might be the cheaper route. I'd rather than give us a title if they have it, and I'd pay $75 and have it hauled off. Drive for a while, didn't work. So I'd say continue with the 51
Okay, so you guys want to entertain our negotiations at a later date?
Yep.
I'd entertain them at a later date if you guys want to present it to us.
Perfect.
I'm not gonna guarantee it now.
I believe it is in Jeff's job description that he's the code enforcer. I am the acting code enforcer. That is not in my job description. Just saying. Okay. Moving on to housing. We got the second check for 5th Street. I gave that to John tonight, so hopefully you'll get that deposited. I called, oh, I don't remember their name. I called the owners, and they said that they would give it a few days, and then they would get a hold of Regals, I believe, are going to be doing that. So hopefully we'll have our first successful housing violation taken care of.
First weekend in November.
Hmm?
First weekend in November.
That's when it's being done? Okay. 2nd Street. I was just informed tonight that Bob Triano had a minor stroke. Is that correct? Bob and I were trying to work together. I was really trying to allow him to have some time on fixing these issues. He became very negative very quickly. They tried to turn on power at the house. They still owe us back from when they lived in town before, and I advised them that I was not turning on their power until we were paid. So that's where that is. I was going to bring it to you guys to see, John, correct me if I'm wrong, I need to see where they want to go with it. Is that correct? Because he's still not in compliance. I contacted the county health. They're going to go back out there. I mean, there's still holes in the roofs. There's still, it's just.
Are there any rules or regulation that says that we have to turn power on if they're out of housing compliance?
Well,
Do we have to turn power and
I wouldn't
sewer
turn it on if they owe money. I mean, I wouldn't turn it on if they owe money.
So-
The thing is, I mean, we keep doing, and this is just me talking off the top of my head, but we keep doing this, let's work with them and let's work with them. But the process for passing a resolution, the council says, this is your deadline. And I think with him, because he's been a problem since I started here, I think you just pass the resolution and say, this is your deadline. And if it's not done by then, and then I think you file corresponding charges in the municipal court and start fining him, $500 a day, until it's brought up to code.
John, here's the problem. They want, like he wants to turn that on, and we turn him down, then he'll go get his brother or his sister or his wife. And
He already
and
tried
do
that.
it, and you don't know that.
I think, but, I mean, is it owned by him or owned by a company? I can't remember those properties.
I believe the deed had his name on it, but I would
Okay.
have to double check that. Because the wife was trying to tell me it was hers.
John, what does it take to just start the paperwork on this to do with that?
Just your direction. I can have it.
I'm concerned, let's start the paperwork with doing the same thing we've done to the last one. So we can get an date.
No, it'll be in the resolution, yeah.
So can that resolution work on more than one property, or does it have to be a certain property?
I would do everything at once. If I'm gonna,
Okay.
if there is, again, to use the flowery language, some economics and numbers. If I'm saying that
So
right.
are you saying I should get some more of the letters sent out? Because in the letter, they have 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
Give them that time period. But I think the city should be done attempting to work with people. I mean, candidly, it's a problem in every small city, and if people had the means a lot of times, then they would take care of it. But a lot of times, these houses are beyond needing to fix, and they just need to kind of be shown how expensive it is, because they're just going to sit on it and just sit on it. I mean, that was the problem with the last house. It just got
There's another one on Fifth Street that needs to be looked at as well, north of the VFW.
I think that's on our list.
It's just on the list.
Okay, so we'll work on that.
do we need a motion to direct John?
No, you don't need a motion.
Okay.
Just
The
Get
421,
with it.
oh,
Yes, we give you contact before Thursday. I left a message, but I haven't been contacted yet, so I don't know what's going on with that.
so can I start calling Dollar General? Okay.
You need to get a hold of them, get a hold of them.
The 420 West Second, we sent the deed and we still haven't got that back. I think Bobby has the phone number. He's gonna get that to me and I'll give him a call and see where we're at. The corner store, the Billie Jean, I think is her name, she called back and they're wanting a deadline, really, I guess. I think they said something about deeding it over to a brother or someone, and they were going to try to put a restaurant in it or something, maybe. So, okay. So, okay. So when I call her back tomorrow, you would like me to tell her they need to get it cleaned up now?
Yep.
Repair it to operating condition within a timely manner, or get rid of it,
Timely manner being the 3 days that's on the letter.
whatever's on the letter. Make arrangements.
Okay.
Moving on to new business, Meals for Circles, and somebody like to.
It's on your agenda, not mine. I was just gonna speak if you have a question about it. If you have questions about it.
We're going to let Mark take that over.
I was just approached regarding city council providing a meal for circles, and wanted to find out whether that's something that we wanted to do. I was thinking maybe we could do just a burger feed, something for the people in attendance. Ray, can you speak about anything on that?
What it is that the families that are participating at 5:30 on Monday evening, there is a meal provided for them, all of the children, from 5:30 to 6. The meal is there, fellowship. Then at 6:30, the kids go to care, and the parents participate in the learning about aspects of getting out of poverty. Our church has been helping. Rita would be glad to help you and give you ideas of how to do it, but basically it's just to serve a meal, have a meal and serve. People will be there to help out. Last Monday night it was Sloppy Joe's on buns with things, but just a meal, and the city would end up, if the council does it, paying for it. But that's, I think all 20 nights are basically covered except for maybe one or two. I know a lot of the churches in town are doing it, and other organizations are helping out in it. That's what it amounts to.
Actually, all the churches are helping with it, and so is, we also have people from school taking it. There's some students that are also taking it. Probably Baptist youth group is also helping with that after. But these are people in our community who are trying to make an effort to get out of poverty. And this is just a way for the community to kind of get together and put in and help. I generally ask people to try and plan for about 35 people. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. As you said, coffee shows. Basically, make it and work it out. But I just wanted to give them, we wanted to give community an opportunity to think like
Lisa's in charge of all of them.
I'm coordinating.
She's the coordinator of it, so I didn't know she was here.
Anna's does a lot of the footwork, but, yeah.
Any more discussion?
So would we like to do that?
Is this a denominational or religious thing? Is this a denominational, or are we crossing the line?
No, it is not. This is completely non-religious.
Okay.
As
You're
far
not
as
crossing the line.
there's no
Separate.
crossing the line with circles, is there?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
Okay.
No. Churches are helping out, but
Churches are helping with-
but it's
well
not.
said.
It is not a religious function.
No objection.
I think we should help out.
I don't really have a problem with it.
Paying for hamburgers.
That would be something, that'd be the thing right there. Quick, easy. Would you just cook it, Jamie?
Is this just a money donation, or does the council, I really have to prepare the food?
There we go.
Do we have to?
What's the council think on that? On the meals for circle?
I think we should do it.
You put that in the form of a motion?
Sure.
John, you have a thought down there.
You're not gonna have a quorum, right?
No.
Or you're gonna stand in silence? Yeah, if they can.
Is there a motion on the table? And a motion on the table and a second? All in favor?
Wait, just a minute, what's the motion? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, like, do we have a plan, and what are the dollars attached?
No. Do we want to do like the nomination? I mean, excuse me?
It costs each of you maybe $2 or $3 to do it.
You're talking a roaster of spaghetti and a roaster of spaghetti, you think it's good to go? Simple.
Thinking more along the lines of just doing a burger feed. That's quick and easy.
Hamburgers are more expensive than that. Cities with financial need.
I would say get more information and discuss it next council. I don't think, when do we need to pick this up? It's not for a while, right?
We can't hear you.
So in other words, we have time to discuss this at next meeting. Okay. I withdraw my, I just draw my motion, and we'll go ahead and discuss this at next council meeting. If you put that on the old business, please.
New business, winter gear, is that you? Yeah. Okay.
I love these. Winter gear. I was speaking with some of the, like, street department. Actually, David and I were speaking. They have a special with the UniFirst company with winter gear. It comes with a hat, a coat, and overalls. It's a package for $99. I called and talked to him today. It's a one-time $99, and you get the city gets to keep the hat, the coat, and the overalls. I believe the electric department already has winter gear, but the street department, the park department, and everyone else does not. So I just wanted to bring that information to you to see if they could maybe get the winter gear as well.
Is that per person?
Correct. So there's 5 that don't have it correct. 6. do we only have two? Jason and Jeff both have? Okay.
Will they still clean it and everything too? I mean, is it through the?
As far as I know, yes. That's something I was gonna ask Jimmy to know about Thursday. If they get put it in, just like I did.
It's $99 per person. Hmm?
I would ask you a question, but you can't tell. You don't have a computer. I would imagine there's money in the closing budget for all that.
I would have to look at it. And it is a one-time fee and you get to keep it.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds fine with me. Yeah.
Need a motion?
it's under Jeff's spending limit.
Under new business, skating rink approval. I don't know what that means.
Cindy Friesen, the PE teacher, wrote you guys a letter. I believe that this is how she's done it. She wanted to make arrangements to reserve the skating rink for the following dates and times. January 3rd through the 5th from 9:30 to 11:30, and then January 8th through the 12th from 9:30 to 11:30.
Looks fine.
Yeah. Consensus, yeah. Consensus is fine.
New business, burn ban.
Okay, so I'm pretty certain, and any of you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're still in open burn, right? Okay. Because I had someone come in and complain, well, he just wanted to know, he got called in for burning limbs or something and asked what he needed to do, and I was under the impression that we still had the burn ban. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that that has been open since the ice storm, I believe. I didn't know when you guys closed it or how any of that worked, so.
It's still open.
Okay.
All they have to do is call in dispatch and call dispatch.
And I think that, the person said he did, so I don't really know what. Okay.
I mean, usually if there's a problem, it's all me.
Okay. I think, Charlie, did you deal with that? Okay. I don't know if he was just not doing something right or not. I don't know. I just told him that it was open band and to call dispatch. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't need to be doing something on our end in the office to get rid of that.
Okay, moving on. Executive session.
Before y'all go into executive session, will the next meeting be in here, or will it be at City Hall?
Part-time hire of Bill Elliott for the police department, starting at $15 an hour.
Second.
We've got a motion on the table and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes 4 and 1 against.
John, you need 10 minutes?
No, I just need 5 minutes.
For who? All of us sitting here? Make a motion for a 5-minute executive session. Attorney Clamp, privilege to discuss.
Actually, let's just do council.
Non-elected personnel to include council, mayor, and attorney.
Second.
Got a motion on the
Back in
table.
at 9:22, is that right?
Got a motion on the table. And a second? Second.
Yeah, I guess so.
You got it. All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5 and
5.
5 minutes.
Most of you guys have lots to.
To all to include.
Us.
make a motion for a 10-minute,
5 minutes.
5-minute executive session to discuss non-elected personnel to include mayor, council, city clerk, and attorney. Second.
Got a motion on the
Reconvene at
table?
9:28.
Motion on the table, and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes 5-0. Council recesses into executive session.
Back on. Just so you guys are aware, after the last couple of executive sessions, there was no action taken. So you guys are informed. I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Got a motion on the table, and a second. All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned. Council meeting's over.